Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Caleb Davis, junior outfielder for the OCU baseball team, who has helped the Stars off to an unbeaten record so far and was named the Conference Player of the Week for last week. And Caleb, you start off the season batting .800, 2 homers, 8 RBIs. What went into your performance this past weekend? Well,
I think as a team we did a lot of good preparation. We always knew if a lefty was going to be on the mound or a righty was going to be on the mound, and we prepared accordingly. Me and Keith did extra drills before, and yeah, that's about it.
Last season, you carved out a role as an occasional starter and an important pinch hitter for the team. What did you do to expand your role for this season?
Like I said, we did a lot of drills. We did late night hitting after practice, more drills, more drills. I also played this summer in Colorado to get more at-bats because I only got 40 last year because they knew they wanted me to play more this year. So I went to Colorado, got me 150 at-bats, so I was more prepared this year. And I knew what it took because I was behind Jared Baker, I was behind Lane Milligan, Daniel Costello, some really good guys that came through here, and I learned from them what it took.
You've contributed to 2 World Series teams in your career. What has that experience done for you as a player?
Man, those experiences were really fun. I really hope we get to go back to Lewiston this year. We learned from because we had a lot of seniors the last few years. This year's team is really young, so us older guys that have been around those seniors the last few years, we know what it takes to win. We know what it takes to get to Lewiston, and so we're preparing accordingly.
Describe your approach at the plate and how that's kind of developed throughout your career.
Yeah, so whenever I got here, the first thing Keith told me was I was being too passive, taking too many pitches, getting deep in counts, and so I found that the best way to be successful was to be aggressive. A lot of my hits this weekend were first pitches, second pitches, because pitchers tend to try and get ahead, so anytime you see a strike, swing right away, and so that's kind of how I developed under Keith Lytle.
What brought you here to OCU?
Well, first off, I wanted to stay close to home. I'm 30 minutes away from here. That's where my family is, so and I played at Yukon, and I played with Joe Lytle, so I knew Keith already, had that relationship, and I knew the tradition here. A lot of winning, a lot of good seasons, so that brought me here.
What's your major?
Business finance.
What kind of career goals do you have for yourself when baseball's over?
I want to go into commercial banking. Not really sure the exact field, but I'm hoping to go into banking because I really like finance, and under Dr. Ma over there, I'm learning some really valuable things.
All right, that's Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Caleb Davis. You can follow the Stars on OCUsports.com.
What I've learned the most from golf is to have integrity in everything you say and do.
One of the biggest lessons of that sports impacts my daily life is discipline.
Be a champion of character, it just means to realize first that you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Being a part of NAIA is something that I'm going to keep with me forever because it's not only made me a better athlete, but it's made me a better person.
The NAIA really just cares about their student athletes and just the experience in general at the school, and I think that's really important.
The NAIA stands for, has great core values. One that's most important to me is servant leadership. Being able to serve your community is a huge reason why I chose the NAIA.
I am a champion of character.
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 Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to softball coach Phil McSpadden. The Stars are ranked #1 in NAIA softball in the preseason. And coach, last year's team, you finished tied for 3rd place in the NAIA World Series and played a big part in helping OCU win the Directors' Cup last year. Recap last year's team for us.
Last year was a rebuilding year. I hate that expression, but we had lost 6 starters from the year before. So we had a lot of new faces. started off, I thought, pretty slow, but it was to be expected based on, like I said, those numbers. But the girls, toward the, I'm gonna say middle of the year, started playing like I thought they could. You know, you always have these great hopes when you're recruiting somebody, and sometimes you get surprised, but they started playing like I thought they could, and we didn't have a great national tournament. You know, University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma won the title, and we still beat them in league. They're all good ball games. I mean, they could have got, but anyway, we were still the conference champ and the conference tournament champ, but yet the number 2 team in the conference won the national title. But they played better, and we didn't get to see them there. I don't know if we could have beaten them at that point, but I know our girls were playing better from about half the way through the season on. And the good thing about a rebuilding year last year is that this year's not so much a rebuilding because we have most of those kids back.
The final games of the World Series last year were odd because of weather. Pushed it back later in the day. You guys didn't get started in your game till about 10:30 local time. The championship didn't take place till after midnight. What does that schedule do to teams who are kind of just waiting on the weather to start playing?
You know, I think some people handled it better. And I'm not, you know, USAO did fine, but it seems like a team from up north that is more used to delays in their schedule would handle that better, because we don't have a lot of, once we get our season rolling down here, and we struggle this time of the year. You know, you might not play for a couple of weeks after you play a ball game, and then the weather gets to you. But once you get rolling, it's just that it's a timing sport, and you kind of get into a groove. And the thing that I always hate about the new format for the national tournament, you play one game and then you sit, and that's without weather problems. So the old format was, you know, you're playing a couple games a day, and it's a hurried tournament. There's a lot of teams there, and it's like you do during the season. I mean, you're always playing a couple games a day, and if you're in a tournament, you're playing 4 or 5 over a weekend. And this thing is one game a day, and then take tomorrow off, and one game, you know. So if you're used to that, I guess you handle it better. I didn't notice anything horrible about the way we played, but I know our girls were itching to play, and somebody else that is used to sitting around a little bit longer maybe has an advantage.
This will be the 3rd consecutive year that you guys will start as the number 1 team in the NAIA rankings. Now, that's despite not being the defending national champion last year. So what do you think factors into you getting the top spot?
Well, it was kind of controversial. The norm, the defending champ comes out preseason. But the way the rating system is set up, because you don't see a lot of teams, and I'm not a rater right now, but I've served in that capacity before, you can't rank somebody nationally ahead of somebody that's ranked ahead of you in your own conference. So USAO wins the title, good ball club. Are we better than them last year? Are we better than them this year? You're flipping a coin, because every game was close. We played them 5 times last year and beat them 3 out of 5. And we lost a couple of 1-run ball games to them as well. So we're the defending conference champs, so the conference coaches voted us number 1 in the conference, kept USAO from possibly being number 1. They would have been number 1. So it's just the way the rules are set up. So preseason, I mean, it might mean something to people, I guess, for bragging rights. I wasn't expecting to be number 1, and I didn't even think about, you know, even when the conference thing came out, it never dawned on me, should I call around and ask the coaches to switch their votes so that USAO could be 1, because they would normally get it. And matter of fact, the rater in our conference, which happens to be the USAO coach, said she was getting phone calls, and she calls, and I'm getting phone calls because everyone thinks that we're trying to pad our conference by we can't be number 1 because of what happened in our own conference rating. And that's not true, because it's preseason, big deal. But it was ironic, and it was just because we were lucky enough to get a few more first place votes among our conference coaches for preseason, which affected the national poll.
Tell us about the Sooner Athletic Conference as a whole. Obviously USAO, and you guys are at the top of the national rankings. You'll play USAO 4 times this year. So what is the conference slate
minimum?
look like?
I mean, like I said, you could always run into them at the conference tournament, and you could run into them at the national tournament, the way things have been working out. Well, the conference is not as tough as it once was, and you know, when we had Lubbock Christian and Oklahoma Christian and Southern Naz and OBU, and and this sounds horrible, but it's factual. The people that have replaced them in our conference are not quite as tough. Texas Wesleyan's always had a pretty good bunch, and we've got some teams at the top that make it interesting. But it used to be even the people that might finish 7th or 8th in the conference probably had a better chance of knocking off the people at the top than they do now. I hope I'm saying that's kind of politically correct, because I don't mean to slam them, but the people at the bottom don't seem to win as many games nationally, conference-wise, as the old people at the bottom. So it's still a good conference, but it seems to be more top-heavy than it used to be.
You got a lot of experience coming back on this team. J.C. Smith is a 2-time NAIA Catcher of the Year. You've got Gigi Wall, who has twice been the MVP of the national tournament. Tell us about some of the returners on this team.
Well, we graduated a very good pitcher. I think Abby was a 4-time All-American, or maybe a 3-time. I'm not sure. I'm not so much of a stats person. Very solid pitcher for us for 4 years, and then last year swung a bat for herself and played in the outfield for us some. And in the past, she hadn't done that. She's become pretty much a pitcher, but she's a good enough athlete. She could help us in the other ways. And then, of course, we lost our third baseman in Lacey Joyner, who was a very solid ball player for us for 4 years, 4-year starter. And I'm not sure what kind of awards she had. And once again, I'm not very accurate even on Abby or either one. So those were your 2 significant losses. And compared to the previous year, when it was 6 starters, and last year, depending on whether Abby's throwing or not, you could say 1 starter, maybe 2 starters. I mean, I'd still say 2, because Abby, at least last year, her senior year, was doing some stuff other than throw. But this year, you're returning JC behind the plate. Every coach is prejudiced, but she is the best NAIA catcher in the country. 5-tool kid, could have played D1. I mean, Gigi's the same way. He's been dominant her whole 3 years, and going into their 4th. A go-to, puts the ball in play, keeps the ball down. People play well behind her because things happen quick. I mean, she's not one of those that throws a lot of balls, and so there's action. We're solid. I mean, we've got Brittany Perez, good second baseman for us last year. JC kid, got some kind of All-American recognition last year. We're probably going to use her, same in the 3-4 slot, but I don't know if she's going to be in the infield or outfield. She can do a lot of different things. Kennedy Jackson, All-American for us last year as a freshman. Brought her in to be a second baseman, left fielder, and ended up playing short for us. Did a very solid job for us. Great leadoff hitter, good on-base percentage. Good nucleus to work around, good nucleus.
So who are some of the newcomers on this team that may force their way into the lineup?
Well, you don't have a lot. We had a transfer at the break. Morgan McCallum, who started her career at the University of Kentucky. She's a Texas young lady, and so she's got some tools based on just her resume alone. We've got a Gabby out in right field, or DPing, a young lady that was from San Mateo Junior College out in California, and once again, I'm not great on resumes or what it says their bio. Indicates they've accomplished in the past, but I want to say that she was the Northern California Junior College Player of the Year as a freshman. Of course, we recruited her after that and during her sophomore year. So good stick there. Kylie Dodson is an incoming freshman, won a state title last year at Mustang High School as a pitcher. Shelby Riggs is an incoming freshman, won a state title at Binger in high school. I think that's all I've missed. Should be five to replace, really 2, but we had some people coming at the break as well.
The NAIA World Series is going to move to Springfield, Missouri for the next 2 years, a place that you'll visit for the Evangel tournament coming up shortly. What do you know about the venue there?
Well, we've been going to Evangel's tournament for a few years because of the location. The last 2 years they were hosting it in Fayetteville, which was a shorter drive. Fayetteville High School did a real good job of co-sponsoring Evangel's tournament. And so we would have gone back to Springfield when I knew their tournament was going back anyway. But it was exciting when I heard they were playing at the Killian or something sports complex, which we played tournaments at before. And it's a 4 or 5 field complex. I'm not really sure how many fields there are there, but there's one stadium in that city park where Missouri State plays their home games. And that's where we thought the tournament was going to be. And then a couple weeks ago, we get an email saying they've moved the tournament. But once again, we're going to Springfield for the tournament, not necessarily the venue, but we've been at that ballpark before. So it's a nice setup. And since I'm a coach bus driver, I'm much more excited about Springfield than having to drive to Orlando or all the way down to not South Florida, I guess Central Florida again.
Tell us about your assistant coaches. You've had Bobby Bridges on the staff for 17 years, Guy Cook, Harold Kopus there for plus 20 years. That continuity real important to you guys. What does your coaching staff bring to the team?
Well, you want to talk about experience, but I just think it brings a great family atmosphere. When we recruit kids, you hear different reasons of why they're interested in your program or why they're interested in the university. But something that seems to be just a constant is this seemed like I could enjoy my time here because you guys all get along well and you treat us as individuals and not just chattel or whatever expression you want to use for. I do use the expression all the time when I'm recruiting because that's what college athletics is. I'm using you as an athlete to help us win ball games and you're using us to get a degree. So there's part of that, but I do think that they see the other side of it where there's not a lot of, if you're in our softball building before practice, after practice, during the mornings, there's people hanging out on the couches, they're watching TV, and they're probably not talking softball. So it seems, and Mr. Kopus and Mr. Cook and Bobby do a very good job of, like I said, treating them as daughters or granddaughters or sisters or however you want to word it. So I hear that a lot, and I see that a lot, and that's what I believe they bring to our table just as much as their knowledge about the game or to the game.
All right, that's softball coach Phil McSpadden. Stars get their season underway soon. You can follow that on OCUsports.com.